struggle has such a negative connotation and association, and I don't think it necessarily should be that way. Yes, if if your life sucks 100% of the time and everyone's dealt different cards, but the point of this was to tell you that, struggles at some capacity are essential for your growth.
Welcome to the Online Entrepreneur Experience podcast that details the ins and outs, the how-tos, and the ups and downs of living a life of an online business owner.
How's it going today, John?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. Just hanging out. I think we got a good one today, and I like whenever we hop on these calls and we just get to kind of break down a singular topic. And I wanted to talk today about creating your own struggles and how struggles and adversities can ultimately benefit you, and just why, as humans, we need those struggles.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was just going to ask you the same thing. Why do struggles help us and accelerate us forward? Well, do you want me to answer that, or do you want to take the floor?
I think I think as humans, we were hunters and gatherers, way back in history. And if you think about the progression that society has made, even in the last 10 years, it's huge. 15 years ago, when I was in middle school, everybody had a phone, but touchscreen phones didn't exist. Now you're walking around with a computer in your pocket. And, society has progressed so much that we as humans aren't caught up to it. Long time ago, we were in a cave and there was a bear in the room ready to kill us, and we had to be ready for that. So I think that a lot of times people need some sort of conflict in their life to feel like they have a purpose or they have something that needs to be solved.
Yeah, I mean, you're a lot younger than, well, I wouldn't say a lot younger than me, but we didn't have cell phones growing up. Until I was, I think, 11th grade. Then you had the Nokia, play Snake on it, and that was about it. And
there's only 10 years there. There's a 10-year gap between us. And when you were a kid, there weren't cell phones, and then you had the very basics. And when I was a kid, there were more options than that. We had the slider phones where you could type on a full keyboard, but there weren't iPhones. I mean, it wasn't a thing yet, and it's just everything progresses so fast that I think we forget where we came from as a species. As a species, we were literally just like any other animal that's out in the wild, just surviving basically. And now I think because our lives are so cushy and plush and we have all of these amenities, it can put you in a tough spot, because if you don't have a struggle, a lot of times that coincides with feeling like you don't have a purpose.
I use this a lot, but it's just like an airplane. Without turbulence or the pushback of the wind, you're never going to fly. So why would we take our struggles and actually use them as a positive? And why would you do that in your life? And how do you do that in your life, I guess, is the question.
I think there's multiple ways. Like, even if you have a good life, you're going to have struggles, whether that be financially or physically or with your relationships. And all of those things make you a good problem solver. It forces you to take action. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle. Is some people are fortunate enough to they reach like the epitome of success as a human being. They're multimillionaires. Some people, it happens overnight and there's nothing they can't have. And they're like, okay, well, what do I do now? Well, that's where you create your own struggle, whether it be martial arts or learning a new hobby or physically working out. You're doing those things, you're filling that void, and you're creating a struggle for yourself. It's like the movie Mean Girls, when, there's just these people that love drama, right? They love drama. They love creating waves, stirring that pot. It's getting nice and thick. Well, I think that all goes back to basic biology, really, and who we are as a species. And if your life gets to a point where you feel like you've reached the top of the mountain, now you have to find something else to work for. You need to find new goals, and you need to find a struggle for yourself.
You nailed it right there. I wasn't going to go on a little rant, but I might here. Bob Proctor, he once said, without struggle, there is no like end of the rainbow. There is no pot at the end of the bowl, or end of the rainbow, whatever. But it's because the journey along the way builds us up into the person that we need to become to actually face those struggles and actually become the person that we're aiming to be, which it's never done. That's the amazing.
Right.
we just keep growing. Like, look at you. What do you have? Like, I don't know, 27 sources of income now or something. You just keep.
Yeah, a couple. I have a handful. But it's yeah, and that's where I think a lot of quote unquote successful people or celebrities fail is like look at Johnny Football a couple of years back. He goes from being this college student that was a good football player to the pinnacle of like everyone thought he was going to be the next Tom Brady. And that overnight success, that not having to struggle to get there, he got there and he didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to process any of it. And he ended up turning to drugs and all sorts of other things and getting washed up out of the league because he'd never taken those steps to work and get to that point and figure out who he is. It's anything like when you started your online business, when I started my online business or my automotive business, there's a lot of struggle and it sucks. But ultimately, it's making you better. It's teaching you lessons, and you're ultimately going to be more appreciative of the end result once you finally get there.
Oh, absolutely. And when I started, I didn't have any like computer skills, nothing. I didn't know shit about anything. So what I did was I just went in with faith, knowing that with the right mentorship, I was going to succeed, which I've succeeded at everything that I've ever done in my life, including as small as skateboarding, snowboarding, all that, freestyle motocross. Kind of got a little screwed up on freestyle motocross, but I still succeeded. um, but with that struggle of learning all that stuff, that's how you build yourself up. That's what you're getting at, right?
Absolutely. It molds you. It quite literally molds you into
Yeah.
the person that you need to be. And while we all think, oh, it'd be nice to win the lottery. Well, what happens to a lot of people that win the lottery? They piss it all away. They don't know how to manage it. Their life sucks. And you're like, how can your life suck with tens of millions of dollars? Well, they didn't have to work. It's like your first car. When you got your first car, I don't know about you, but my parents are like, well, you better get a job or you ain't going to have any wheels. My first car was a $250 two-wheel drive 1990 Mazda pickup. It was the biggest hunk of junk, but guess what? That thing was always washed. It always had a fresh oil change. It always had a full tank of gas. I was so proud of that thing because I had to work for it myself. And then you look at, a lot of other people who get something given to them. And I'm not saying that's not okay. It's fine. If you have the means to buy your kid a new car, one, there's nothing to look forward to. If you're 16 and you get a brand new Denali or an Escalade or whatever it is, you're not. What is there to upgrade to? And two, you don't have a sense of accomplishment for owning that vehicle. So even at my high school, that happened all the time. People would get brand new cars. I remember a kid had a brand new Mustang, and that thing was trashed. I mean, it was trashed. It's because he didn't appreciate it. He didn't have to. He didn't pay for it. It's no skin off his back. Dad, you'll buy him a new one. Well, and that can often be seen as a point of jealousy and anger, right? But I'm not getting at that at all. I'm getting on the fact that they're really getting the short end of the stick because without the struggles and the work and dedication to get something nice, you're not learning, you're not building your tool arsenal to ultimately get you to that next level.
I had a 91 Buick Century, by the way.
Oh man, you were balling.
Yeah, 3.8 though. Those motors are bullet.
Yeah, those motors were bulletproof. Those were good cars.
Oh,
But yeah, that's just what I'm saying though. Like now you got your Camaro, I got, too many cars, but it's like you don't have anything to work up to if everything's just handed in your lap. And not only do you have nothing to work up to, you are not building the skills from the struggle to succeed or to keep your mind occupied. Guess what? You have struggles. It might suck in the moment, but you're occupied, you're problem solving, you're growing, you're developing as a human being. And without that, we'd be running around a society full of idiots.
definitely. Well, you kind of just nailed everything that I was just going to ask. I was going to ask you if struggles are a necessity. Is it requirement to actually succeed? Well, we kind of went over that, but if you want to touch a little bit deeper on it, that's up to
Yeah,
you.
it's you have to, if you let's say I joined DFM and my first month without really doing anything, I hit a stroke of luck and I made $30,000 in my first month, right? Let's say that happened. Well, and every time I hopped on a live training, they're telling me how great I'm doing and everything's fantastic. I'm never going to learn, everyone, I don't care how successful you are, everyone has holes in their game somewhere. And if they're not pointed out and you're not held accountable for those things, you're never going to learn. You're never going to grow. We talk about this all the time. And one of my things that I really had to work on when I started was my targeting, my ad placement, that kind of thing. I was good at the content game. I've been in the content game for a long time. I was well spoken. I could make a good video and be persuasive and be friendly and be relatable. But if you only focus on your strengths, your weaknesses are just going to get worse. And if you ignore them, you're always going to stay right here. You could keep working on things you're really good at. You're going to stay here. You got to bring these weaknesses up. And then once they're up, then you bring your strengths up a little, and it's a teeter-totter effect, and you climb up the ladder. But if you don't have any of that, you ain't going anywhere.
When I started my online business, I was terrible, which I thought I was better than I was, just like anybody, because I was learning the skills, and I'm like, I was like, Kellen, check out this banner. And he's like, yeah. He didn't say it was crap, but he's like, it needs improvement. And that's where, I was struggling in that, because in my own mind, it was good enough. Well, it's never good enough. That's why we always level up. And that's why we struggle, is because, and I don't even like the word struggle that much, because struggling means you're actually fighting against something. I would say there's obstacles coming at you, and you're learning how to deflect those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think struggle has, and that's the whole point of this topic, is struggle has such a negative connotation and association. And I don't think it necessarily should be that way. Yes, if your life sucks 100% of the time and everyone's dealt different cards, but the point of this was to tell you that, struggles at some capacity are essential for your growth. And if you get to a point where you don't have any, now you have to start artificially implementing struggles so that you can continue to grow. Like I said, whether that's picking up a new skill, martial arts, working out, any of those things is going to ultimately help you, because you need to get to a point where, if you're at the top of the mountain and you're the best at whatever your game is, that's ultimately detrimental to you, because if you're the best and you think you're the best, and there's always going to be someone better than you, but let's say there is no one better than you in your circle, you got to go to something where you're going to suck. You got to get there, and you got to start learning skills so that sharpening, so that you can continue to sharpen that part of your mind that is going to get around obstacles. That's equally as important as being good at something.
Yeah, it's just like becoming a millionaire. If you want to become a millionaire, hang out with other millionaires and pretty much copy what they do. And all of a sudden you become that person that can actually sustain $1 million. But without that, that's why I'll go back to the lottery. Well, when people hit the lottery, they win $10 million and they go out and buy a $5 million house. Well, they're thinking in their old mindset of, I need to spend this money as fast as it's coming in. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think we crushed this, dude. I think this was really good, and I really hope if you guys are watching, this benefits you in some way.
Yeah, definitely. And make sure you hit subscribe, like, and comment.
Hit subscribe down below, comment, like, share the video. We love bringing this stuff to you. If you have any ideas for other podcasts, by all means, drop them below. And as always, John, it's a pleasure, and we'll see you next week.
God bless, man.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning into the Online Entrepreneur Experience. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes that we're releasing and any of these amazing pieces of value that we're giving out. And if you could take the time out of your day and leave us a review, we would be so grateful. We look forward to seeing you on that next episode.